All right, 25 minutes before 9 o'clock, it's time for News Bites. This is the portion of AML Cal Live where we take the news from around the world, around the nation, around the state, and around town, and we deliver it bite-sized so that you get the gist of it and you can get on with your day. There's a lot of news out there, and we try our best to give you the best top stories so that you can get on with your own world news, or your own life news, I guess you would say. We also will tell you, of course, the news agency we're getting the stories from, so that you can look it up for yourself and read the longer version of the story. The first one I'm going to read to you is coming from Bloomberg. The U.S. said an American citizen was killed while fighting alongside Islamic extremists in Syria, highlighting concerns that foreign combatants involved in the conflict pose an increasing global threat. Douglas MacArthur McCain, who was 33 years old, was raised in Minnesota. He died last weekend while fighting with the Islamic State group that seeks to establish a strict Islamic caliphate while spanning the Muslim world. NBC News reported his death earlier, and the White House National Security Council confirmed it yesterday.
President Obama did not send a White House representative to attend the memorial mass on Sunday for James Foley, the American journalist beheaded by the Islamic State militants. The president did, however, send 3 White House aides on Monday to attend the funeral for Michael Brown, the 18-year-old black male who was fatally shot by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. The president expressed his profound condolences to the family in his statement last week. This is a quote from Ned Price, a spokesman for the National Security Council, reported by the Washington Times.
This sad and horrifying story from the New York Daily News. An Arizona gun range instructor was accidentally shot dead by a 9-year-old girl that he was showing how to fire an automatic Uzi, according to this report. The little girl's parents were using cell phones to film the tutorial when tragedy struck around 10 a.m. Monday. Sam Scarmardo, the manager of the Arizona Last Stop Gun Range, told the Daily News. 39-year-old Charles Vaca was shot in the head when the Uzi recoiled in the girl's hands, sending the weapon over her head, according to the Mojave County Sheriff's Office. The Lake Havasu City resident died at a Las Vegas hospital around 9 p.m. on Monday. Wow.
What is the matter with those adults?
Tragic.
Senior Hamas leader Mohammed Zahir yesterday appeared on the streets of the Gaza Strip for the first time since the beginning of Operation Protective Edge to declare celebrations over the victory against Israel. Zahir said that the Palestinians would build their own airport and seaport without asking for anyone's permission. This is his quote: "If they attack our airport and seaport, we will attack theirs. We struck the theory of Israeli national security and managed to deter them without being deterred ourselves," reported by the Jerusalem Post.
My goodness, I was looking at the video that I was just reading about. The next story is from ABC News. Time Warner cable subscribers across the country are experiencing service problems this morning. The problem started at 4:30 a.m. Eastern Time, according to Bobby Amir Shahi, Vice President of Public Relations for Time Warner Cable. "During our routine network maintenance, an issue with our internet backbone created disruption with our internet and on-demand services," he said in a statement. Service was largely restored by 6 a.m. this morning, with updates going on to restore service to all customers. Frustrated subscribers wrote about the situation online, making Time Warner a trending topic on Twitter.
E-cigarettes should be banned indoors over fears that they can be as toxic to bystanders as normal cigarettes. This is according to the World Health Organization. Despite releasing vapor instead of smoke, the devices still pollute pollute the air with harmful chemicals. Many smokers use e-cigarettes as a way to quit, as they deliver the nicotine hit but without the carcinogens associated with breathing in smoke. There are no laws currently banning their use inside, but yesterday a report by the World Health Organization questioned the safety of e-cigarettes, officially known as electronic nicotine delivery systems, reported by The Telegraph.
And from the Associated Press, it was supposed to be a pleasant lakeside picnic for a 42-year-old mother and her 25-year-old daughter, teenage son, and 3-year-old grandson. But for reasons that are still unclear, it turned into a tragedy. All 4 family members were found drowned at Henry Hagg Lake, a popular reservoir 25 miles west of Portland. Divers yesterday recovered 3 of the bodies near a picnic area the day after lake goers found the 3-year-old boy face down in the water and unconscious near the same spot. They and emergency officials performed CPR, but the boy died at the scene. No one saw what happened on Monday. Law enforcement officials say they found no sign of foul play.
Stocks rose yesterday with the Dow and S&P 500 hitting all-time highs after the government reported that orders for durable goods such as toasters and washing machines jumped far more than expected in July. That cast a favorable light on the economy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was 73 points higher in late morning trading at $17,150.52. The S&P 500 rose 7 points to an intraday record of $2,005.01, and the NASDAQ added 14 points. Dan Greehouse, chief strategist at BTIG, is quoted as saying, "Today's report, while not perfect, reinforces market optimism regarding the economy." Durable goods rising 22.6% last month versus a 7.5% estimate. The bookings for longer-lasting goods came on increased demand for commercial aircraft, reported by MSNBC.
And from the Christian Science Monitor, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal planned to file a lawsuit today against the Obama administration, accusing it of illegally manipulating federal grant money and regulations to force states to adopt the Common Core education standards. The U.S. Department of Education has used a $4.3 billion grant program and federal policy waivers to encourage states to adopt uniform education standards and testing. The Republican governor says that effectively forces states down a path toward a national curriculum in violation of the state sovereignty clause in the Constitution and federal laws that prohibit national control of education content. A draft copy of the lawsuit was provided to the Associated Press by the governor's office. Governor Jindal planned to file it today in the federal court based in Baton Rouge.
The third named storm of the 2014 Atlantic season has also become the third hurricane of the season. Cristobal became a hurricane yesterday, according to forecasters at the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. The storm was packing maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour, making it a Category 1 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. The storm was moving in a northerly direction at 16 miles per hour. That course could take it to the west of Bermuda by late this afternoon, and a tropical storm watch remains in effect for the island. Forecasters say that on its current track, Cristobal should stay well off the Atlantic coast. It is eventually forecast to turn into the open Atlantic and assume extratropical characteristics. By late weekend, as an extratropical system, Cristobal is forecast to be near the coast of Iceland, reported by the Florida News Network.
And from the Office of the Supervisor of Elections for Marion County, Wesley Wilcox, yesterday's primary election results had only a few surprises. Florida Governor Rick Scott is now officially the Republican candidate to retain his seat in November's general election, and former Florida Governor Charlie Crist successfully convinced Floridians that he would make a great Democratic governor. Both men were predicted to win in their respective primaries. Crist garnered 74% of the votes in his race against Nan Rich's 26%. Of Republican voters, Governor Scott received 88% of the vote against his two challengers. We need to take a little break, and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Partly sunny today, a shower or thunderstorm around mainly this afternoon. high 87 to 92. Watch for rough surf and rip currents. Clear tonight, low 68 to 75. Clouds and sunshine tomorrow with a thunderstorm later in the day, high 90 to 94. Friday, clouds and sunshine with a shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon, high 91 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Steve Travis.
Get it for less at the DIY Home Center outlet. Get top quality real wood cabinets the same or less than the big box stores are selling the cheap stuff. And that's not all. Drywall screws big box stores are $6.47 a pound. At DIY, only $4.99. Plus, DIY has the largest selection of mobile home parts and accessories anywhere. From carpet to doors, get the DIY supplies you need for less. The DIY Home Center outlet. We are your building material closeout store. 2191 Northwest 10th Street, just 2 miles east of I-75.
Are you tired of not using your home's outdoor space for entertaining or relaxation because of all the bugs and leaves? Consider adding a beautiful screen room or glass enclosure. We are Superior Aluminum and Design, a family-owned and operated business with 20 years experience in the aluminum industry, and we are accredited by the Better Business Bureau. If you appreciate superior workmanship, call Superior Aluminum and Design at 817-8058 or visit us on the web at superiораluminumdesign.com.
Hospice of Marion County has an urgent need for volunteers to share a conversation with someone, run errands, hold someone's hand. All you need is a willingness to help others. Our volunteers believe the blessings they receive far exceed the services they offer. Will you consider serving, caring, and making a difference? Call today, 873-7441. Hospice of Marion County, making more moments of life possible.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
You hear a lot of announcements on WOCA, but you don't want to miss this one. The Salvation Army Church Indoor Yard Sale is happening on Saturday, September 6th from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. and everything is priced to move. Over 5 truckloads of Christmas items, clothing, furniture, knickknacks, and books. Doors open at 8 a.m. and there will be a little of everything. Go to 2901 Northeast 14th Street here in Ocala. Thank you for supporting the Salvation Army programs. All right, 12 minutes before 9 o'clock. Let's return to NewsBites, and let me continue, if you will, with the news about yesterday's local elections from, again, the Supervisor of Elections Office, Wesley Wilcox, and his staff. In the local races, with just over 58% of the votes, Carl Zalek III defeated Glenn Fiorello for County Commissioner Seat 4. Zalek, the incumbent, will now face a write-in candidate in 10 weeks in the general elections. In the Marion County School Board race, Kelly King took over 57% of the vote, defeating incumbent Ron Crawford, who was seeking to serve a 5th term on his District 5 seat. School Board Chairman Bobby James in District 3 will now face Jane Morley for his seat in the November 4th runoff election. That was a close race. That's my 2 cents, by the way. And the same is true for incumbent school board member and Vice Chairwoman Angie Boynton in District 4, who will now be on the runoff ballot in November to face Chase Basinger.
France's prime minister is scrambling to put together a new pro-reform government a day after the surprise eviction of rebel ministers who had opposed budgetary rigor. The French president, François Hollande, took the biggest gamble of his 2-year-old presidency on Monday by ordering his prime minister to form a new government that will exclude socialist dissidents demanding an end to austerity policies dictated by Germany. Hollande decided that his firebrand economy minister, Arnaud Montebourg, had gone too far by attacking his economic policies and Germany's obsession with austerity, reported by The Guardian.
In the rather cool news category, this is from ABC News. Although doctors spend decades perfecting their crafts, they don't exactly get dress rehearsals when it comes to performing complex surgeries on one-of-a-kind patients. Until now, the 3D printer is changing that. At Boston Children's Hospital, doctors perform practice surgeries with replicas of their patients' body parts. Though the hospital has had a simulation program for about a decade, it started 3D printing children's body parts about a year ago, according to a statement from Dr. Peter Weinstock, who is the director of the hospital's simulator program. He said they perfect what they want to do before ever bringing the child into the operating room or putting them to sleep. The models are also used to help parents understand their children's surgeries before the operation and to educate students afterward. The printer is precise with a resolution of between 16 and 32 microns per layer. That means each layer is about the width of a filament of cotton, according to Weinstock. And since the printer can print multiple resins or textures, doctors can work on replicas that model different tissue types like brain matter and blood vessels. The printer only takes a few hours to do its work. Once CT scans and other forms of imaging are collected and rendered into 3D models. A child's finger might take 3 hours to print, but a chest replica they made last week took longer. The team has already printed about 100 body parts over the last year, and demand is growing, adding that the printer is running around the clock at the facility. Wow, that is an amazing story. And there's a lot more to it if you want to look it up. Again, I got that from ABC News.
The first research into the effects of oil and gas development on babies born near wells has found potential health risks. Government officials, industry advocates for fracking, and the researchers themselves say more studies are needed before drawing conclusions. While the findings are still preliminary, any documented hazards threaten to cast a shadow over hydraulic fracturing or fracking, the process of blasting chemicals, sand, and water deep underground to extract fuel from rock that's helped push the U.S. closer to energy self-sufficiency than at any other time since 1985. Lisa McKenzie of the Colorado School of Public Health is quoted as saying, "It's not really well understood how the environment interacts with genetics to produce these birth defects. We really need to do more studies to see what the association is, if any, with natural gas development," reported by Bloomberg.
And this is from ABC News. More than a century and a half after his death at the Battle of Gettysburg, a Union Army officer is being awarded the nation's highest military decoration. President Obama approved the Medal of Honor for First Lieutenant Alonzo H. Cushing, the White House announced yesterday. Cushing was killed in action on July 3rd, 1863, at the age of 22, during the battle's third and final day in the face of Pickett's charge, a futile, deadly Confederate advance that threatened to turn the tide of the war. Cushing served as commanding officer of Battery A, 4th United States Artillery Brigade, 2nd Corps for the Army of the Potomac. During the battle, Cushing's battery took a severe pounding from the Confederate artillery, and Cushing was wounded in the stomach and right shoulder. Despite his injuries, Cushing refused to leave the battlefield, commanding his men and defending his position on Cemetery Ridge against the charging opposition. The Confederate cannon sent volleys over the heads of their advancing troops into the Union lines, according to the Waukesha Freeman, Wisconsin newspaper in their news that was written in 1911. Cushing and his neighbors replied with never-ceasing spirit in spite of a constant rain of shot and shell, with horses and men falling all around. Cushing was shot several times but kept on firing. He served his last round of canister and was struck in the mouth by a bullet and fell dead, and he'll be honored with the Medal of Honor. Wow.
Gosh.
I guess I think he's 151 years. So I guess he'd be the longest time between serving and receiving a Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm. With temperatures remaining high over the past few days, everyone has been trying to cool off. That includes a man in Springfield, Missouri, who was cuffed and put into a police car for being naked in public. Springfield police say the man dropped his shorts and decided to go for a swim in his birthday suit in a public fountain. It seems to obviously be against the law, but when you take a look at the law and you see words like conduct is likely to cause affront of alarm, it can get confusing. The man's friends say no one present was alarmed or offended. Attorney Nancy Price says regardless to his intent, he cannot skinny dip in public. She adds there are few possibilities that someone can prove their nudity should not cause an alarm, like in a locker room at the gym or an art class in college, reported by KSPR in Springfield, Missouri.
From the Associated Press, U.S. Airways and American Airlines are pulling flight listings from Orbit's run websites in a long-running dispute over fees that the travel company charges to list and sell the flights. Shares of Orbit's Worldwide Incorporated fell nearly 5% because of the news. American said that it had already dropped its fares from Orbit's and that U.S. Airways listing would be pulled on Monday. Corporate customers of the airlines will still be able to book through Orbit's, but individuals will have to go to the airline's websites or other travel agents, including online rivals Orbit's such as Expedia Incorporated. American's withdrawal extends to Orbit's other websites such as Cheap Tickets and European-based ebookers.com.
1/3 of the insurance contracts doled out to establish the federal Obamacare marketplace have forced the federal government to commit funds that exceed the estimated value of the deals when they were struck. This is according to a new audit yesterday that underscored the health overall's ballooning costs. The original value of 60 contracts studied by the auditors totaled $1.7 billion, and about $1.4 billion have been obligated so far, including $800 million specifically for the federal marketplace and not other operations. This is according to the Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services. The contracts were awarded between 2009 and 2014, reported by the Washington Times.
And from CNS News, Mexico's president spoke of the need for U.S. immigration reform on a 2-day visit to immigrant-friendly California, saying those who reject diversity and inclusion will ultimately be proven wrong. We want to be a factor of cohesion, not division, with full respect for the sovereignty of the United States, President Enrique Pena Nieto said on Monday. This, at the end, is about and only about a matter of justice for those who contribute so much to the development of the American society. Pena Nieto was welcomed by Governor Jerry Brown, who played up his immigration credentials in a speech that highlighted the close cultural and historical ties they share across the borders.
The Pentagon warned yesterday that ISIS militants have global aspirations, ratcheting up already dire U.S. rhetoric against the jihadist army that has overrun much of Iraq and Syria. Rear Admiral John Kirby, the Pentagon press secretary, is quoted as saying, quite frankly, we're not turning a blind eye to their global aspirations as well. ISIS has not conducted attacks outside of Iraq, its gestation ground, and Syria, where its successes brought it global attention. Its own rhetoric imagines a global Islamic caliphate obliterating man-made borders, but its capabilities, which include access to oil wealth, fall significantly short, reported by The Guardian.
And from ComputerWorld.com, Apple is again said to be readying a larger iPad. The 13-inch tablet is probably going to be aimed at business users and will feature split-screen multitasking, so just like the similar Samsung and Microsoft products, in IT Blog Watch, bloggers replaced the toner cartridges with magical Joni Ive pixie dust. Apple Incorporated suppliers are preparing to manufacture the company's largest ever iPad, according to people with knowledge of the matter. Well, that was kind of a weird story, wasn't it?
The earthquake that jarred California's wine capital caused $1 billion in damage, Napa County officials estimated, as business owners mopped up high-end vintages that spilled from barrels and bottles and swept away broken glass in the rush to get the tourist hotspot back in shape for the summer's final holiday weekend. Reported by Fox News.
And the last story from ABC News, a third American hostage held by ISIS has been identified as a 26-year-old American woman who was kidnapped a year ago while doing humanitarian relief work in Syria. The terror group is demanding $6.6 million and the release of the U.S. prisoners for the life of the young woman who the family requested not be identified. She's the third of at least 4 Americans who were known to be held by ISIS. That's all the time we have. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. An American's been killed while fighting for ISIS.
The White House is confirming the death of Douglas MacArthur McCain in Syria, but saying little else about the Muslim convert. Relatives say traveled from San Diego to Syria to fight alongside ISIS. It's believed dozens, if not more, Americans are fighting with terror groups in Syria.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern. 2 bodies bound together were pulled from Philadelphia's Schuylkill River overnight. A third managed to free himself and is being treated for knife wounds. Police say that 20-year-old victim claims to have been abducted elsewhere in the city, tossed into a van with 2 others, robbed, stabbed, and thrown in the water. L.A. police may have caught a serial killer. 34-year-old Alexander Hernandez was picked up in connection with a string of shootings targeting motorists. 4 killed, several wounded. He's charged with 1 death. More could follow.
This is an individual that was out randomly shooting people. As crazy as that sounds, that's what happened.
Deputy Chief Kirk Albanese, Fox News. We report, you decide.
5 quarts of Valvoline conventional oil in a Napa Silver filter for just $22 is a no-brainer. So now you're free to think about other things. Like, aren't zebras really just horses with cool tattoos? With 5 quarts of Valvoline in a Napa Silver filter for just $22, it's definitely something to think about. Conquer the job with Napa Know-How. General states pricing. Sales prices do not include applicable state, local taxes, or recycling fees at participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 8/31/14.
Where in the world does your family